What does a jnani think about all the different religions in the world? A jnani does not concern himself with the various religions in the world. Those have been started by human beings. What has man created out of his various religions? Very little happiness or satisfaction, and a great deal of jealousy, hatred, disturbance, and differences. Man torments himself by his concepts and imaginations about various religions. Every nation has several religions. All is the play of the elements. Each person has entangled himself in certain concepts of his own and is keen on perpetuating them. The unfortunate thing is that he does not see the fundamental basis of what he himself is. For one who has realized this basis, there can be no fear of death. Was Hitler a product of his own thought or a product of the food essence? He was a product of the elements, so there is no sense in personalizing him. The true nature has no form. Whatever appears is a result of the elements. How does a jnani distinguish between a jnani and a Hitler? A jnani does not distinguish between them at all. But how did they arrive? They have just come out of the elements. Out of 3 or 4 raw materials, a cook can concoct various dishes, each with a different taste. But basically they are from the same, identical materials. So if you ask where did this dish come from, what can you say? It is a mixture of those materials. India has millions of oppressed persons. Some want to help them, but the teacher warns us not to assume any such aim. When there is a certain state of affairs, it is all movement. It keeps on changing. There must be some people who have the capacity to remedy the condition. Whatever turns up as a remedy is part of the play of the elements. So where does the individuality come in? Everything is a part of the happening. How did the 5 elements arise? Who is responsible for them? You. Find out how this body arose. The original question takes you back millions of years. Let us take a near one, that is your own body. Find out how this body arose, and you will come to the answer of your original question. We have this body, mind, and consciousness. Find out how much of it is temporal, seasonal, and what is permanent, which will not change. Once you find out that, there is nothing more to do. I understand, with conviction, that just as the body and the breath have appeared, they are going to disappear, and the consciousness will also disappear, but there must be something which is changeless and permanent. How do I find it? There is a little water in a pot, and you pour it into the sea. So which part of the sea will want to know whether it is joined with the water in the pot? How do you know which part was separate? So that tiny bit of consciousness merges with the total consciousness. After the death of the body, this consciousness will merge with the universal consciousness. While the body is present, is it possible to know the ultimate state? When one is merged, who is it that will want to know? Many people, particularly Westerners, feel that their questions have not been answered to this point. Is this view correct? No, Maharaj answers what we really need to know. And when he answers, I always realize that I would be better off not asking many of my questions. He always answers what I want to know anyhow. The ideal answer is to know who is striving for happiness and suffering difficulties. What is the real that I am striving for? Some sects in Christianity stress that if you really accomplish all the promises in the Bible, you will disappear at death rather than be buried. I was convinced of that for years, because when I was young, I had a guru who did disappear from us and reappear many miles away at the same time. I used to think that this was important. Of course, I gave that up a long time ago. But still, when I am with Maharaj, I can see it as an absolute ridiculous idea. There is no end to the miracles that can happen in the world, but they are still of the manifest. There have been many powerful minds and powerful beings who, by their penance or strength of mind, have acquired powers and performed miracles. What has happened to them? the same thing that happens to everyone. If they have had the experience of their true self, such people would not be trying to acquire powers. Many Westerners who come here believe that if you become a jnani or become enlightened, everything improves. This is what they seek. Let them come. Each one comes with his own concepts. Whatever their concepts, they will realize that ultimately there is no accounting. This consciousness is not going to remain with me. That I know. So what have I got to do with anything, any concepts or ideas that anyone tells me? Is it possible to transcend this consciousness which I have? Where's the need? Have you started this consciousness? Why are you taking this ego responsibility for this consciousness? You did not ask for it. I am tremendously grateful to Maharaj. What is most different is that regardless of anything, he answers what is most helpful and right. But people want to make the teachings into a system, which ruins them. But Maharaj doesn't worry. He just says on Wednesday that red is black and on Friday that red is white. But the answer is correct at the time, because it changes the orientation of the questioner. It is tremendously valuable and unique, like an actor who plays different roles. As soon as the unmanifest became the manifest, a state of duality arose, and everything that takes place in the manifest is time-bound. You think that I am talking to you as an individual, but I talk to the manifest and not to the individual. The individual is merely a figment of the imagination. You are a gynecologist. You deal with birth and medicine. What has given rise to the births is the 5 elements. When the baby is 1 or 2 years old, its existence is made known to it by the mother. The mother says, "You are a girl, I am the mother," etc. The baby merely acts until that time. Later on, whatever knowledge is obtained is what one word gives to another word. It is based on words. When a person is operated on, medicine is administered to make him unconscious. And when he comes back to consciousness and begins to feel pain, another medicine is given to him to make him unaware of the pain. Later on, he doesn't feel hungry, so another medicine is given to stimulate the appetite. All that which gives rise to the baby is nothing but another kind of medicine, a natural medicine made of the elements. Whatever is of the live elements. If this is clear, where do you as an individual come in? What does one take pride in as an individual? What is to be done? What is the aim in life? To see oneself as one is to see one's true nature. How is that stage to be obtained? By continuous japa, repetition of mantra. What do you mean by japa? Japa means take care, in Marathi. You only take care of something which you have a desire to maintain. So the japa is based on desire. So the sadhaka is one who does the sadhana in order to achieve something? It is true that the sadhaka has a desire to achieve something. These things are given to the mumukshu, the first stage, when one feels that there is something beyond this material universe. The mumukshu is still concerned with this body-mind. But when he becomes convinced that he is not the body-mind, he goes to the stage of a sadhaka, where he is convinced that he is the beingness or the consciousness. Ultimately, he comes to the conclusion that he is not the beingness, because the beingness depends on food and is also time-bound. Is there any value in repeating the mantra? And if so, to what extent? Yes, by repeating the mantra with a great deal of concentration, the inner receptacle of the body is purified, so that one becomes receptive to such inner knowledge that may come, and the mind disappears into a spirit of reality. What generally happens is one starts repeating the mantra and then wonders if the tea is ready or the telephone rings, etc. My patients will ring up and I must deal with them, so how do you get out of the obligation? You must make up your mind what you want. If your desire is so keen that whether the body lasts or not, you must have it. If the determination is that great, then it must come. But if you want something in the material world, it is not possible. The true pupil keeps this in mind and meditates. This beingness in the body is so powerful that you will be able to see whatever deity you meditate on. It is basically the strength of the beingness. Most people do not have time to spare to repeat the name, or whatever the sadhana is. Ultimately, the aim is to forget one's individuality. Does it mean that one shouldn't have anything to do in the world? One must give up the world? The crucial question is, by whom? Whatever has brought about conception is the primordial seed of the entire universe. I have a question about Babaji. Was his ability to sustain himself for so many years learned before becoming a jnani? That ability is not acquired. It is something that happens in nature, in the manifest world. There is no law or reason. All kinds of miracles happen. Anything can happen. The beingness has stuck to the body, has not merged. It still remains. In the traditional Hindu literature, there are two entities who have seen any number of universes created and destroyed. As soon as the conception took place and was created, the future was photographed, and that was their destiny. There is no reason. It just happens. One of those miracles of nature. The followers of this man Babaji say that for centuries he is supposed to have been appearing and disappearing in the Himalayas. What Maharaj is saying is that such a man must have had that ability by birth, or that he learned it from somebody before he became a jnani. After he became a jnani, he would not appropriate any powers to sustain the body. I know that this beingness is time-bound, so why should I worry about somebody else? Why does anyone worry about this? Whatever has been produced will ultimately take its end and go back into the state from which it came. At the end of that happening, it will go. Does one discard all the yoga when one becomes a jnani? That by which one was able to become a jnani will itself disappear. There is an insect whose sting causes itching and nausea. When the insect is removed, the itching and nausea stop. All the itching and nausea in life is because of that tiny speck in the Brahmaranda. Because of that beingness, all these troubles arise in the consciousness. Once you know that you are not that, everything is over. The moment the Satguru makes everything clear, there is no need for japa or mantra or anything. If you have understood what I am telling you, there is no need for any sadhana. There is no need to do anything. And you can do anything. In the manifest and the awareness, a feeling I am becomes total consciousness. But the consciousness within oneself, which is time-bound, the knower of this consciousness cannot be that consciousness. He is totally different. A jnani is established in the state prior to all knowledge. Where did you come from? Who directed you here? I'm from Australia, and I was here before 3 years ago for a few days. Have you felt any effects from when you were here before? Yes, a change. You have been coming here for knowledge, but would you be prepared to accept life without the body? Yes. What are the characteristics of life without the body? That is unchanging. The life with the body is changing, transient. Your true nature is such that you are not aware of the consciousness or the waking and sleep states. The trouble is that people do not really understand with conviction that the body, breath, and consciousness are time-bound. And the beginning and end is a tiny thing that has happened in the state that is permanent. At the end of the day, the consciousness will disappear, and no one will want to know the road by which to travel. In life, one comes with the ticket, and at the end of life, one must go. There is no appeal. Realize that the beginning and end of life is a journey with a time-bound ticket, and know that at the end of the ticket, whatever has come will go, and be witness of that. Step out of it. There seems to be a lot of evidence that consciousness does somehow continue after death. It is a concept. Actually, no one has an experience even of birth and death of this life. How did they happen? Have you had any dreams? Yes, you are also present in your own dreams and you see as someone totally different. At the end of the dream, it all disappears. Why did I get into this body consciousness? You are sleeping safe and sound in your bed, warm and comfortable. So why do you convey yourself in your dreams to a state where you are struggling for breath and dying in a nightmare? All this manifest is only a dream of the unmanifest and is not really happening. That which makes us believe that we are is the cause, and at the end of it, we are back in our original state. One who knows this has no fear of anything that is happening. Would it be reasonable to say that the jnani has certain spontaneous observable characteristics, one of which might be compassion? Exactly what do you mean by compassion? Every day Maharaj meets people and tries to communicate a kind of knowledge. Why does he bother? This compassion is not for the individual, but that beingness which has trapped itself into identifying with a number of individuals. Is this compassion a spontaneous relationship between the Absolute and the consciousness? At the very point and at the same time that the unmanifest became manifest, the reason for this compassion arose spontaneously. I understand. When the jnani's body dies, his true state is unconditioned. But this compassion doesn't die. Does the jnani then reincarnate himself? What happens to the compassion that has originated itself and vanished? The entire manifest world is a very clear expression of the spontaneous arising of this compassion. One does not realize the instant expression of this compassion in the world. Before the baby is born, the milk is formed in the breast of the mother, and the compassion to feed the baby arises at the same moment. A woman is not inclined to feed someone else's baby. What I was getting at is whether after death a seed remains, a kind of continuity, whether the jnani wishes to take a new body. The very conception of something continuing from one birth to another is wrong. When you become a full jnani, you will understand that without you even the elements will not have any life. The knowledge I am giving now is like feeding infants, but when you have the full knowledge, you will understand that your beingness sustains the entire universe. This beingness is of no value. It brings nothing but unhappiness, and it is time-bound. But simultaneously, so far as the manifest world is concerned, the tiniest being alive is the support of the entire universe. This consciousness that one has is of a manifold nature. It can adopt any form it likes, whereas your true nature is full in itself, unchanging. You have knowledge of the nature of man and of the nature of consciousness. What more knowledge are you seeking? Actually, I'm seeking to go beyond knowledge. There is really no going, either beyond or prior to. That state is there. Man thinks he has to go from one state to another. But there is no going. Is there anything further you are seeking? Just to have all the false attachments, false identification fall off. That is the whole trouble, and one thinks that certain misconceptions have to come to him. All those concepts are movements in consciousness, and once the consciousness itself disappears, the movements that have come with it also disappear. You are already in that state. There is nothing to acquire. Now you know this, and for you all this is useless. Right. I would like Maharaj to explain about the Brahmarandra. I'm familiar with the yoga teaching on it, but Maharaj's is slightly different. There are two things, the world and one's presence. The feeling of presence, that is the consciousness, the beingness. That is Brahma. I am present. Randa means the tiniest of apertures. And in that aperture is the silent primordial sound, which gives you the impression that you are, but you really are not. This sound in that aperture gives you the feeling that you are, but be sure that you are not. Very good. I take my stand in the original state where I was not aware that I am. This body and the beingness has come, but knowing its nature, I do not expect anything from it. When a yogi is totally absorbed in his meditation or yoga, this soundless sound so fills him that he becomes drunk with it for a while and then it subsides. When the body dies, this individual consciousness will merge with the total consciousness. But even so, that total consciousness knows that it is. And so long as one knows that it is in a state of duality. The moment the sense of beingness arose, there was a sense of duality. The manifest world is full of movement which creates and destroys innumerable forms all the time. This consciousness is of a universal nature, just like space. The consciousness within the body is a minute experience, but its nature, its quality, is essentially the same, exactly like space. The imagination and memory create a body and a personality, and the manifest assumes wrongly that it is a body and a personality. What causes the beingness to arise? Just as you have no cause for your dream, there is no cause for the beingness. Explain to me how you have a dream. It is causeless. Therefore, it is without logic. All that we see in this manifest world is exactly like a picture on the television screen. Whom do we call parents? Only two physical forms. If they disappear, we consider that our parents are gone. That which has brought about my beingness without my knowledge constitutes my parents. That is the root. It is only because I am that I see the world and think of God. Therefore, God is because I am. If I am not, God is not. I will give you a formula which will do everything for you. Think continuously in terms of I am God. There is no God without me. When you are established in this, whatever is unimportant will gradually fade away. A step further, I have told you to say I am God. But now what I am getting at is not the words, I am God, but that which was prior to the understanding of the words. That is God and that is you, not the words. The original question was how to go beyond consciousness. The consciousness is time-bound, but it is only the capital we have, and that is why it is so important. I haven't got the hang of it yet. That is because the identity with the body is so strong. That is not easy to give up. Give some trick by which we can give up this identity with the body. The only answer is continuous practice of meditating and thinking on what I have said. Gradually, this self-limitation will disappear, and the sense of separation will go. For the riddle to be solved, one has to meditate deeply over a long period. Meditation means the beingness absorbing itself into the beingness. Over a long period of this kind of meditation, one will come to know the knower of this beingness. I am the knower of this consciousness. I can only know something else. I cannot know myself. And that riddle will solve itself by continuous deep meditation. You are now convinced, are you not, that you are the knower of consciousness? Yes, you are convinced, but there is still a mental identification with the body, which makes you feel that something good is going to happen to you. Now you have a certain amount of knowledge, and it makes you feel very happy. This knowledge has driven away ignorance. In the washing away of the ignorance, the knowledge will also disappear. Only you remain. The sound that must be heard is the silent sound. Only the silent sound can hear the actual sound. Is God the equivalent of the manifest formless? God is the soundless sound. It is in manifest because all we are talking about is the manifest. The unmanifest cannot talk at all. People do not believe me when I tell them that they do not know themselves. You have allowed yourself to be enticed by what is not the truth. By identification with the body, you have lost that knowledge. Who is that you who is asking this question? Since this individual beingness depends on the body, how can one say that the body cannot be given too much importance? We give too much importance to individuality. This consciousness in the body remains only so long as the body lasts. We think that when the body is destroyed, the consciousness is also destroyed. It is not. It becomes one with the universal consciousness. This beingness, which is our most prized possession, and which we want to retain at all costs, preferably for all time to come, is dependent on the body, and will only last as long as the time limit for each individual existence. The subject must be separate from the object which it perceives. The body must disappear, no matter how intensely one may wish otherwise. The self is separate. It will merge with the universal being. The self is totally different from what the listener imagines it to be. I address the actual listener, not what the listener thinks he is. There are various kinds of knowledge in this world, but the only true knowledge is knowledge of the self. Because of my experiences, I have had visitations and guidance from many saints. Maharaj says in the book that we receive help from many different persons. What are those persons who give us help? They all arise in your own being, from your own consciousness. They are not separate from you. So the statement in the book was not complete. That answer was to a particular person, and what I have told you now is the answer for you. I can shut it all out, or should I be receptive? It's very hard to open the door to the Guru and keep everything else out. Meditation on the Guru is very important. If the guidance of those so-called sages or guides is acceptable to you, you accept it. Otherwise, reject them and ask them to proceed. If you have a vision of a gigantic God whose head is touching the heavens, unless you are its support, where's the vision? I'm not telling you what you should or should not do. I want you to be yourself, the very support of all. Your seeking advice will depend on your own level, your purpose. By teachings, my Guru has taken me to the state before there was any conditioning, any experience of any kind. The yogi who gets absorbed in the silent sound is there before the silent sound. You have reached the state where these things happen. But remember, you are there before. You are having all these wonderful meditations. If you persist in your association with me, you will lose everything.